There is a moment in life when you have to face a truth you have been avoiding for far too long. Nobody is coming. Nobody is coming to rescue you from your excuses. Nobody is coming to wake you up every morning. Nobody is coming to force you to chase the dream you keep talking about. And the sooner you accept this truth, the sooner your life can finally change. Because the moment you stop waiting for someone else to save you, asterisk, you become responsible for saving yourself. Think about how much time you have already wasted waiting for the right moment. You said, I'll start when I feel ready. But you never felt ready. You said, I'll do it when life becomes easier. But life kept giving you another problem. You said, I just need someone to support me. But sometimes the person you were waiting for never came. And maybe that is exactly the lesson you needed. You were never supposed to wait for someone. You were supposed to become the person who could move forward without one. Listen carefully. Asterisk. Your life will not change because you want it to change. It will change when your actions become stronger than your excuses. You can have the biggest dream in the world, but if you keep negotiating with discomfort, that dream will remain exactly where it is, inside your head. You want confidence? Then keep promises to yourself. You want discipline? Then do what needs to be done when you don't feel like doing it. You want a better life? Then stop repeating the habits that created the life you're unhappy with. This is where most people fail. They want the result, but they don't want the process. They want strength without struggle, successes without sacrifice, confidence without failure, freedom without responsibility. But life doesn't work that way. You don't become strong by avoiding difficult things. You become strong by facing them. There will be mornings when your body tells you to stay in bed. Get up. There will be days when nobody notices your effort. Keep working. There will be moments when people doubt you. Keep building. There will be times when you feel completely alone. Don't run from that feeling. Use it. Because being alone can teach you something comfort never will. It can teach you how to stand without being held. When nobody is cheering for you, you discover whether you actually believe in what you're doing. When nobody is watching, you discover whether your discipline is real. And when nobody comes to help, you discover what you are capable of doing by yourself. That's why you should stop being afraid of the lonely part of the journey. Sometimes loneliness isn't punishment. Sometimes it is preparation. You are being forced to develop the strength you would never have built if everything had been easy. So stop asking, who will help me? Ask a better question. What can I do with what I have right now? Maybe you don't have enough money. Start with what you have. Maybe you don't have enough knowledge. Learn. Maybe you don't have confidence. Take one uncomfortable step. Maybe nobody believes in you. Then become the first person who does. You don't need to see the entire path. You only need to take the next step. That's how every impossible journey begins. One decision, one action, one day at a time. And stop waiting until you are fearless. You will probably never feel completely fearless. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward while fear is still present. You can be scared and still start. You can be uncertain and still continue. You can fail and still try again. You can lose people and still keep walking. The problem isn't that you are afraid. The problem begins when fear starts making your decisions for you. Every time fear says, don't try, and you obey it, you become a little more comfortable with staying the same. But every time fear says, you can't, and you take another step anyway, you become stronger. That's how confidence is built. Not by repeating empty words in the mirror. Confidence comes from evidence. You told yourself you would wake up early, and you did. You told yourself you would finish the work, and you finished it. You told yourself you would stop making excuses, and you stopped. Every promise you keep becomes proof that you can trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you don't need constant approval from everyone around you. You stop explaining every decision. You stop looking for applause. You stop asking people whether your dream is worth pursuing. You simply work, quickly, consistently, potently, because you finally understand that your future doesn't need everyone's permission. And here's another truth you need to accept. Not everyone is going to understand your journey. Some people will support the old version of you because the old version was familiar. When you start changing, some people may question you. They may tell you that you're taking things too seriously. They may laugh at your goals. They may tell you to relax. They may even disappear. Don't let their departure become your excuse to stop. Not everyone is meant to walk with you forever. Some people belong to a chapter of your life. That doesn't mean the chapter was meaningless. It simply means the story continues. Keep walking, because the person you are becoming requires you to leave behind the version of yourself that was comfortable with excuses. You cannot carry your old habits into a new life and expect everything to change. If you want a different future, you need different actions. And those actions begin when nobody is watching. That's the real test. Not what you do when everyone is cheering. What do you do when nobody cares? What do you do when motivation disappears? What do you do when the results are taking longer than expected? What do you do when you work for months and still don't see the reward? That's where most people quit. But that's also where the strongest people continue, because they understand something most people don't. Results are often delayed, but effort is never wasted. Every difficult day is building something inside you: patience, discipline, resilience, mental strength. And eventually, the person who kept going becomes someone the person who quit could never become. So if nobody is coming, good. Stop waiting. Stop looking at the door. Stop hoping someone will arrive and give you the life you should be building yourself. Stand up, take responsibility, make the decision, and take the first step. Because the moment you realize that nobody is coming to save you is the moment you finally understand that you have been capable of moving all along. And this is only the beginning. Because once you stop waiting for someone else to change your life, you face the next challenge: learning how to keep moving when everything inside you wants to quit. The hardest part is not starting. The hardest part is continuing when the excitement disappears. Anyone can begin when they feel inspired. Anyone can make a promise when everything feels possible. But who are you when the motivation is gone? Who are you when nobody is watching? Who are you when the results are taking longer than you expected? That is where your real character is revealed, because motivation is temporary. Discipline is what carries you when motivation leaves. There will be days when you wake up tired. Do the work. There will be days when you feel discouraged. Take the next step. There will be days when you look at your progress and think, I'm getting nowhere. Keep going. You cannot judge your future by one difficult day. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. Your life doesn't transform because you worked hard for 3 days. Real change is built through repetition. One decision repeated until it becomes a habit. One habit repeated until it becomes your character. And one character repeated until it creates your future. That's why you have to stop searching for quick results. You are not building something that should disappear tomorrow. You are building yourself, and that takes time. The world will constantly tempt you to quit. It will offer you comfort when you should be working, distraction when you should be focused, excuses when you should be taking responsibility. And sometimes the biggest battle will not be against another person. It will be against the voice inside your own head, the voice that says, maybe tomorrow. You're too tired. You've already failed. What's the point? Listen to that voice, but don't obey it. You don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. Sometimes your mind wants comfort more than it wants growth. And if you always choose comfort, you will eventually become a prisoner of your own habits. So choose differently. When your mind says rest, ask whether you actually need rest or whether you're simply avoiding discomfort. When it says you can't, ask whether that's a fact or just fear speaking. When it says it's too late, remember that time will pass whether you act or not. The question isn't whether you have enough time. The question is, what will you do with the time you have left? Stop wasting your life comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. You don't know what they sacrificed. You don't know how many failures came before their success. You don't know what they had to overcome. Comparison steals your focus because it makes you stare at someone else's path while ignoring your own. Your journey is yours. Walk it. Maybe you're behind. Walk anyway. Maybe you made mistakes. Learn from them. Maybe you lost years. Don't lose another one. The past cannot be rebuilt, but the future can still be shaped, and you shape it through what you do today. That's why responsibility is so powerful. Blame keeps you stuck in the past. Responsibility puts you back in control. Maybe someone hurt you. Maybe someone betrayed you. Maybe you didn't receive the opportunities you deserved. Maybe your circumstances were unfair. You can acknowledge all of that without allowing it to become your permanent identity. Your past may explain your wounds. It does not have to control your future. At some point, you have to say, "This happened to me, but what happens next is my responsibility." That sentence can change your life, because now you are no longer waiting for someone else to fix what happened. You are deciding what you will do with it. Pain can make you bitter, or it can make you wiser. Failure can make you quit, or it can make you stronger. Loneliness can destroy you, or it can teach you independence. The experience doesn't decide the outcome. Your response does. So stop asking why life is difficult. Ask it what difficulty is developing inside you. Maybe this difficult season is teaching you patience. Maybe rejection is teaching you self-respect. Maybe failure is teaching you humility. Maybe being alone is teaching you that you don't need constant validation. Maybe losing something is forcing you to discover something better within yourself. There is always something to learn if you are willing to look beyond the pain. And when you finally understand that, you stop seeing every obstacle as an enemy. You start seeing obstacles as training. That's when you become difficult to break. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. And remember this, you don't need to become perfect. You need to become consistent. You will have bad days. You will make mistakes. You will sometimes lose your focus. You will sometimes feel weak. That's normal. The goal isn't to never fall. The goal is to refuse to stay down. Fall 7 times. Stand up 8. Not because standing is easy, because staying down is not an option. Every time you return after failure, you teach yourself something powerful. I can recover. And eventually, that belief becomes part of who you are. You become the person who doesn't quit easily, the person who doesn't need someone standing behind them, the person who can walk into uncertainty and still take action. That is freedom. Freedom is not having a life without problems. Freedom is knowing that problems don't control you. And perhaps the most powerful decision you can make is to stop needing everyone to understand you. You don't need to explain every dream. You don't need to defend every goal. You don't need to convince everyone that your path is right. Work, let your actions speak, because talking about what you will become gives you temporary satisfaction. Becoming, it gives you a completely different life. So talk less, build more, distill less, deliver more, seek less approval, develop more discipline, and stop announcing every move. Sometimes the strongest transformation happens in silence. Nobody needs to know how hard you're working. Nobody needs to know how many times you failed. Nobody needs to know how many mornings you wanted to quit, but didn't. Let the results speak when the time comes. And when success finally arrives, remember the days when nobody believed, not with bitterness, with gratitude, because those lonely days taught you how to stand. Those difficult mornings taught you discipline. Those failures taught you resilience. And those moments when nobody came taught you that you were never as helpless as you believed. So if you're standing at the beginning of something difficult right now, don't wait for perfect conditions. Start. If you're already halfway through and you're exhausted, don't throw everything away. Wreck if you need to. Then continue. If you failed, don't turn one failure into a permanent identity. Learn, adjust, return. And if you're completely alone, remember this, being alone does not mean you are lost. Sometimes it means you are finally walking your own path. You don't need a crowd. You need commitment. You don't need constant motivation. You need discipline. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need to stop betraying your own potential. So make yourself a promise. From this day forward, you will stop waiting for rescue. You will stop blaming circumstances for every decision. You will stop giving your future to temporary emotions. You will stop asking whether you feel like doing the work. You will simply do what must be done. Not because it's easy, because your future deserves it. There will be no perfect moment. There will be no magical person who suddenly arrives and fixes everything. There will be no guarantee that your effort will immediately produce results. But you have something more valuable than a guarantee. You have a choice. You can remain where you are, or you can move. You can keep making excuses, or you can take responsibility. You can keep waiting for someone, or you can become someone. And maybe that's the real meaning behind nobody is coming. It isn't meant to make you hopeless. It's meant to make you powerful. Because when you stop waiting for someone to save you, you realize something extraordinary. You don't need permission to begin. You don't need permission to change. You don't need permission to rebuild. You don't need permission to become stronger. You only need the courage to take responsibility for the life in front of you. So get up. Even if you're tired. Move even if you're afraid. Begin. Even if you're uncertain. And keep going. Even when nobody is cheering. Because one day, you'll look back and realize that the moment you thought you were completely alone was actually the moment you became strong enough to stand on your own. As nobody came, so you became the person you were waiting for. And that person was inside you all along.